Hi, everybody. Terry Barr here from WOLX Radio and Maximum Inc. Music Magazine. I am so pleased to have joining us today Cody James. Now, Cody is a singer-songwriter based in the Oshkosh area. But what we're going to learn about Cody today is he is making his sites bigger and brighter to try to help all of us, no matter where you live, to understand what's currently going on. Cody, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks so much for having me, Terry.
I want to talk, obviously, the whole reason we were first connected is about your project, Parallel Universe. I love the name because once you hear what this is all about, it makes sense and it makes you understand where this project is going. Tell me about your thoughts when you first came up with the idea for Parallel Universe.
Well, so the whole deal with this parallel compilation is that I've got 10 Wisconsin-based musicians and 10 Wisconsin-based visual artists who are providing interpretations on classic American protest songs from the 60s and 70s. And the whole point is to stand, show solidarity with current civil rights, to say, hey, we're all in this together. It's definitely not a negative finger pointing political thing, more of an uplifting, empowering thing overall. And, I've always thought that there are so many similarities between the civil rights movements of the 60s and 70s and the civil rights movements happening now. You see the racial disparity, you see, the March for Women's Rights, you see the March for LGBTQ rights, even things like climate change, that was a big deal back then. It's a big deal now. And so you think about it, and it kind of is like a parallel universe, different times, maybe some different situations, right? But ultimately the same message. And, those classic 60s and 70s songs they're so ingrained in American culture. They cross generations, they cross cultural gaps. And so I thought it was just a really cool way to show the world that, hey, Wisconsin, the Wisconsin music and art scene stands, with civil rights, and we're saying the same messages that these iconic songs that we all know and love said 50 years ago.
So for someone who will be watching or listening right now and they're having a hard time thinking of what one of those songs may be, what do you think is a best example of one of those? I know we typically call them a demonstration or a protest song, but what would you point out for one for people to maybe take a listen to?
So you're thinking, For What It's Worth by Buffalo Springfield. There's something happening here, right? You're thinking Ohio by Neil Young. You're thinking Blowing in the Wind by Bob Dylan. Fortunate Son by Creedence Clearwater Revival. And I could just keep going on. There are so many classic songs that we all know, that we all love. And we have a really great selection here with this project.
Oh, I'm so glad. You gave me goosebumps too, just by singing that little bit of the, that song. Because I think it takes us, even if we weren't around, we weren't born then, we all know what's happening. We're all seeing it right now. But when you hear these songs, it just puts you in a place at a time. For many people, it will be bringing us back to 2020.
Right.
I worked in Cincinnati back in the early 2000s when they were protesting there about unarmed Black men being shot by police. And then you think back to what has happened before and before and before, and it makes it hard to realize this continues. And I feel like we're making a little bit of headway, but maybe songs like you are putting together, do you feel like this will be just a little push to remind people?
We've been singing this song for 50 years, for beyond that. It's been happening for a lot longer than there's just the 60s and 70s, And I would really love for there to be a time where people listen to these songs and go, wow, I can't imagine what that was like. I can't imagine living in a world where they had to sing about this kind of stuff. I feel like we shouldn't be doing that now, but here we are.
Mm-hmm. So keeping it on the positive side with the music, how pleased are you with the music you are getting in from artists basically all over Wisconsin?
Yeah, I've been getting some really great stuff. Some of these musicians are friends that I've had for years, and I knew that they would turn out a great song, and they certainly didn't disappoint. Some of these are brand new, people who I maybe have kind of been following, or but don't really know. And I gotta say, there's a bunch of these songs that I listen to, and I got chills, because there's some really great stuff here that really hits home. It really does.
And are they doing covers of old protest songs, or are you mixing in any new, or I guess I'm going to say new work, because here we are in 2020,
Yeah.
newer protest or demonstration style songs?
So every musician is covering a song from the 60s and 70s. There are a couple of artists that actually have written songs in relation to what's going on, some original music, and so those songs are going to be included on the compilation as well, which is really cool. And I've also I want to extend an open invitation to anybody, who maybe has been inspired to create, or has already created, music or artwork or poetry, or, any kind of creation in relation to, what we're all experiencing collectively, to please reach out to us. I'm thinking that this is definitely going to be a series. I don't think this will be the first compilation that we do. And we, really just want to build a sense of community and unity, and work together to make things better.
Have you ever tackled a project like this before, or is it just the topic that made you think, I need to do this, and this needs to be the one?
Yeah, this is the first time I've done something like this. I've been active in music since I was 14. I turned 31 this year. I had played my first show at 14. I actually lived down in Madison for a couple of years, and I played down there for a while. That was about 10, 12 years ago. But I've met a lot of great people. I've met a lot of friends that I've had over the years, and so it really was kind of an easy process, honestly. And these people that are on the compilation are, just as enthusiastic about this as I am, and so it's really just a great way to get friends together, and hey, let's stand up for something,
Oh, I love this. You also mentioned, again, the visual artists. How are you going to be able to incorporate that into what you're trying to release and get out there in a bigger sense to people?
Yeah, so in addition to the musicians, we do have visual artists from around the state who, so the musicians had chosen their song that they were going to cover, and then the artists were able to choose from that list of songs, whichever song maybe resonated with them. And so they created an original piece, something that they kind of thought fit the vibe of the song. And yeah, and so, music is kind of my thing. And so the artistry part, I met a lot more people, on the art side. And that was a really, great way for me to expand, myself and my knowledge and my, network too. And so now, beyond all of this, even, we're going to be holding an auction. We're going to be auctioning off all of the original pieces of art that these guys have contributed. And so that's been, really great. I'm learning about all that, stuff too.
God.
And yeah, so it just keeps growing. It just keeps getting bigger.
Oh, well, kudos to you. And I guess before we go any further, I do want to ask you, for people who are watching and listening, where can they learn more? What is the best place for them to go to find out more about you and about the project?
So you want to look at our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Wisconsin in Solidarity. Already been posting artist features and updates and things that are going on. So go there. Once on October 30th, when the project is released, it's going to be on a site called Bandcamp. And Bandcamp is basically just a streaming site for musicians. And so all of the songs will be there to listen to. And that link is wisconsininsolidarity.bandcamp.com.
And we will be sure to share all of those links as well. And I'll ask you once more before we're done, in case people are scrambling to get a pen and paper and want to write it down too. You mentioned, again, the date is significant, October 30th, because obviously it's just a couple of days before what is going to be a huge presidential election. Was that a goal, to get this complete and get it out there? And not telling people how to vote, but just reminding them to vote, especially because of all the circumstances.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You know, there's no doubt that this is a pretty big one. Probably the biggest one that we may ever see, honestly. And so, yeah, I definitely wanted to get this out beforehand. You know, there was a sense of urgency. You know, like I said earlier, this project is only 2 months old at the most, not even a month and a half, probably. And so, yeah, I wanted to get it out. I wanted to get the word out. I wanted to show my support, you know, um, to people who maybe feel like they don't have any. You know, maybe, you know, some of these people feel like, you know, that people hate them and nobody likes them, you know. So yeah, that was really important.
Well, it's interesting, and I think we've learned through this whole situation how music educates in this
Yeah.
situation. It
Mm-hmm.
also entertains,
Mm-hmm.
and it makes you not feel so alone
Yeah.
without some of these live streams. And we posted quite a few ourselves, but without some of these, we would be missing music so terribly. We still are, you know,
Oh
that
yeah.
live sense, like
Yeah.
I can't touch you and
Right.
applaud,
Mm-hmm.
you know. I miss
Yeah.
all of that terribly. And as you as an artist, how has this time been?
So it's been, you know, obviously very different. I mean, before COVID, I was driving all over the Midwest. I was playing shows almost every single weekend. I mean, my last show was in Omaha, Nebraska. You know, I was going all over the place. Um, but honestly, it's been not as bad as I thought it was going to be. You know, I've done a lot of work on myself. I've done a lot of work on my musicianship. I've written a bunch of new material. You know, I've gotten this project off the ground. Obviously, spending time with my wife and my two little girls. I mean, I can never get enough of that. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
um, but it's, you know, it's been challenging. You know, I have friends who, you know, music is their bread and butter. You know, live shows were how they paid their bills, and now that's gone. And you know, this is another way too to get my friends and musicians that I admire to, you know, stay active, and at least, you know, we're doing something, and you know, for the greater good. You know, it's definitely, you know, everybody knows this is a crazy time in life, but I always try to see the upsides to things, and it has it's been, I'd say for me personally, it's been more rewarding than it has been, you know, detrimental, I'll say.
You're a glass half full guy for sure.
I like to be. Yeah, I really
That's
do. I really
wonderful.
like to be.
But we really, oh my gosh, Cody, thank you for the music that you're working on, in particular for this project, but also everything else you're doing just to bring people together over something that if we do get together, I'm sure that we can make this a difference. Use 2020
Yeah,
to make this a big
yeah,
difference. Yeah.
yeah. I just want people to know that they've got a shoulder to lean on. You know, they have a community who cares about them. You know, you're not alone in all this. You know, we're gonna get through this together. We're all in this together, and we'll get through this together, and we'll be better on the other side.
Cody, give us your information again for October 30th in particular, but everything else, because I am pretty certain after people hear this, they're going to want to connect with you and find out more and be watching as this all comes out.
Yeah. So the project, you can find our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Wisconsin in Solidarity. And then October 30th, all of the songs will be released on Bandcamp, which will be bandcamp.com/Wisconsin, or excuse me, wisconsininSolidarity.bandcamp.com.
There you go.
Yep. Yep. And then if you go to our Facebook page, you know, give us a like, and then we'll have updates on the art auction, and there'll be more artist features, and you know, more updates coming out, and a lot of things are developing, and so it's pretty exciting right now.
That is so terrific. Cody James, again, what a project. Thank you for bringing this all together. Cody, in case you were just wondering, he is an Oshkosh-based singer-songwriter, but as he's let us know, and as I've seen in the past, he travels, and he hasn't had the chance to travel with his music, but he is putting his time to certainly some really good use with this project, and I hope you'll all give it a listen. Cody, thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me, Terry, and taking the time to have me on the show. I appreciate that.
Absolutely our pleasure.